Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Naruto Was Justice League's Fire Shadow. If you guys enjoy this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So now let's start this video. Night over Metropolis. Naruto used his senjutsu to try and locate the signature that he knew was associated to Batman, and soon moved out in full disguise. He moved from rooftop to rooftop as he scanned the city. It was not long before he finally sensed Batman's chakra signature and began to track it. He soon arrived at one massive building that went by the name of Star Labs, which he had heard about in passing. He wondered just what brought the Dark Knight here, until he spotted the very same disguised beings as before. He would have decided to take them on when he suddenly felt a fluctuation in Batman's chakra signature. He realized then that something bad was going down as he moved deep in the building, only to see Batman knocked out and one of the ugliest looking dogs he had ever seen about to chomp on Batman. He quickly rushed in and launched a chakra-enhanced kick to the side of the creature. The creature roared in surprise as it turned to try and take off Naruto's head with a bite. Naruto quickly ducked and then launched himself upward with a knee to the lower form of the alien. The creature was sent back, and Naruto quickly summoned another pair of Kage-Bunshin. The third Kage-Bunshin charged and kicked the creature in the lower jaw, and as soon as it poofed away as both Naruto and the Kage-Bunshin attacked the alien as one force. Naruto growled as he and his Kage-Bunshin quickly shoved an Adama Rasengan right into the mouth of said alien dog with a curse. Joke on this. Adama Rasengan. The sphere smashed into the alien creature which roared in pain, as the energy sphere wasted no time in ripping the creature literally in half. The creature soon died as Naruto was able to see that it was nothing but one major mess on the floor, along with splashes of the creature all over the walls and out at the back. One was for sure, if that monstrosity of a dog was still alive, he'd eat his forehead protector. Naruto turned to check on Batman, and saw that he had pressed the watch Superman gave him a few days ago, so it was a promise that Superman was well on his way. That's only going to happen if that being who's been hijacking dreams decided not to do it to him mid-flight, and send him crashing down like last time. Naruto ignored the jib and began to check on the unconscious hero. He did have a concussion plus a few sore muscles, and possibly a cracked rib or two. Naruto was not a full-blown medic nin, but he was quick to guess that some serious patching up was in order. He summoned his chakra and began to use the healing jutsu he had been trained in by both Tsunade and Sakura, and his hands were now glowing with green energy. Batman began to breathe a bit better, and Naruto could sense through his still active senjutsu senses that his body was recovering. It was here that Superman finally arrived and Walter rather flew in. Naruto did not have to turn around to know that Superman was worried for Batman, and he replied, "Don't worry, I'm patching him up right now Superman, but I think the real scientists are going to need some help after this." It was here that Batman finally recovered consciousness, and he was surprised since after getting himself tossed around by that alien creature, he just woke up and felt fine, better than fine. He looked to see that Superman and the Hokage was there, and Naruto was currently facing the original scientists, and his hands were actually glowing in green energy. He raised his eyebrows and Superman replied, "Hokage said he used a healing jutsu to patch you up, and now he is treating the scientists. How are you feeling?" Batman grunted a bit and replied, "I'll be fine." Though in truth he was quite impressed. He had undergone some mystical healing techniques before, but not one that was able to patch him up this fast. And as he looked briefly at Naruto, and the green energy in his hands, he could not help but feel that there was a lot of mystery yet to be answered with the blonde. He walked over to Naruto and spoke to him as the blonde moved his hand away from the last scientist. "How are they?" "They'll live, but I doubt that they can remember anything prior to the whole kidnapping routine done to them." "How about you?" "I'm not skilled medic nin since I don't use the technique all that much, so I hope you are feeling alright." "I'll manage, but the help is appreciated." That was when a massive flaring light suddenly lit up the abandoned lab, and soon all three heroes moved out to see a massive streaking rock come in. Naruto, who was still using his senjutsu senses, picked up something. It was faint, but it was there inside the massive celestial body. It was alive yet not at the same time, and it was not the least bit human. "I think we've just gotten invaded." Naruto and the others were already moving out when Naruto's assessment of the situation came right on the money, as the massive comet suddenly released a massive amount of smoke and gas. That release was soon followed by a massive leg that came out and nearly skewered a pair of officers that Superman saved. Then two more joined said limb and out came one of the ugliest things the blonde had ever seen. But that was soon changed by the sudden blast of energy the thing unleashed as it blew up a car, forcing Naruto to quickly save several people from the flying debris, just as Superman decided to attack. Batman pulled back as he knew that no amount of weapons that he had was going to do him much good as he headed back to get to his plane. He had no idea if his machine's weapons were going to work, but he knew that he did not have a whole lot of options. As for Naruto, he quickly turned to see Superman suddenly being blasted backwards by a massive beam like he was nothing. He heard Superman scream in pain as he decided to fight back. He took out a scroll, unwrapped it, and quickly summoned out a whole row of at least 100 kunai with explosive tags. He learned enough on how to make explosive tags on his own, and these were armed with enough explosive force to shatter a stone wall, and were boosted somewhat by his chakra. It was unknown to him if they were going to be enough to harm, but they were going to have to do for now in order to keep the alien walker away from harming the people. The explosions forced the alien walker to focus on Naruto, and the blonde quickly moved out of the way as a beam was fired in his direction. He evaded the attack and quickly saved a pair of civilians from the debris, as he quickly began to summon more of his explosive tagged kunai, and even took out a massive Yuma shuriken with explosive tags. The people gaped at the massive bladed weapon briefly as Naruto tossed it at the walker, and it exploded once more. This time it had some results, as some of the alien's armor was shorn off. Superman soon returned, and so did Batman and his fighter, and they began to pour it on the aliens, but they were not doing well enough as more meteors fell, and soon more of the alien machines came in the field. Naruto was annoyed by this and began to think that summoning Kurama was a better move than just sticking to what he was using right now. But that was taken out of the equation when the walker began to fire at him and charge at the same time. That combined attack soon sent Naruto running into a building, just as the alien walker decided to smash the roof and the rest of the wall, with the intent of burying Naruto in the rubble. Superman saw that and was shocked as he tried to reach Naruto, but was soon blasted once more by a blast of memories. One of the nearby reporters came in to try and help Superman, who recovered, and then told the reporter that he had to deal with something and soon left. That was not noticed by everyone, and soon the people were in a panic as they had thought that Superman had turned tail and ran. Batman on the other hand was not easily convinced, and soon turned his attention to following Clark. There had to be a reason on why was it that Clark would do that, and he had every intention of finding out what that reason was. Back in the ruins. Damn, that was close. Naruto shouted out a bit as he quickly pushed off the slab of concrete that had covered the place he had managed to get into cover after that giant thing tried to turn him into powder, as well as bury him. As soon as the slab was clear, he got out and coughed away the dust and dirt, as well as wiping his hair and clothes clean. He then looked about and spotted the thing walking away, and turned his attention to the nearby reporter, who seemed to be recovering as he was. He quickly got over to the man and was happy that his chakra-enhanced mask was still held to hide his face as he spoke to man. Where the heck are Superman and Batman? The reporter was surprised to see Naruto alive after what happened and pointed at a direction from Metropolis. They took off in that direction. Why the heck did they leave? We need them here to stop these invaders. They must have left for a reason, to look for something or someone, I think. Listen, you've got to get out of here and get as many people as you can to safety. What about you? I'm going to go and try to track down those two and find out what's so important that they left. But first, I have to help out the cops. Naruto quickly took off in another direction as he spotted some police officers trying to fire back at one of the machines, but their weapons were not doing much good. The bullets seemed to either bounce off like they were rubber, or did not even bite deep into the fleshly-looking white and black armor of the creatures. Naruto quickly used his senjutsu senses, and could tell that these things were definitely not living beings. They were more like machines, like giant versions of dolls, and some odd memory he had recalled a few times before in his younger years. He placed that aside as he saw the police run back as the thing turned and fired at the area before them, apparently to weaken the group, and then finish them off. The thing began to aim at them, and Naruto was quick to react as he grabbed a nearby car. Using his chakra-enhanced strength, he tossed the vehicle just as the beam fired. The beam hit the vehicle. Naruto turned into an impromptu missile, and exploded and managed to take the brunt of the beam, and allow the cops to move away. The alien walker turned towards Naruto as he quickly moved to create a trio of Kage Bunshin, and soon made his Rasen Shuriken. The alien fired the beam as Naruto tossed the chakra sphere with nature transformation at him. The beam missed the sphere, and the projectile made by Naruto's chakra managed to slam hard into the side of the alien walker. The impact was enough to tear a chunk off the alien walker, but it was still intact as Naruto seemed to be consumed by the blast of fire, as the ruined vehicle fell down in two different pieces on the street. But the walker was not able to dodge in time, as Naruto had actually used one of his father's kunai to move the side of the building nearby, right in the level of the thing's eye cannon. Naruto quickly charged in and unleashed a powerful Rasen Shuriken right into the face of the alien walker before it could fire. The result was a massive tearing sound as the front of the alien walker was destroyed, and soon fell down to the ground in a ruined heap. Naruto landed back down and moved to the police, who were impressed by what had happened. He saw that some of them were wounded, and he knew that he had to use some of the training he got in medical jutsu, even if he was tired. However, a band of medical personnel appeared, and he helped them take the wounded away as one of the cops, an older officer, spoke. Thanks for the help, Hokage, but I think we're going to need more than just you. Why the heck did Superman and Batman leave? They must be looking for allies to fight them. Even if he is Superman and he is Batman, they are not going to do this alone. You got a point, but who else is going to help? I don't know, but I am going to find them. You guys don't give up, alright? No worries kid, this old dog still got some sharp teeth, and when that alien warlord came here, the Metropolis police held their own, so we are not going to let these alien bastards take our world without a fight. Naruto smiled at that as he focused his chakra once more to try and locate both Batman and Superman. He was happy that his second Kage Bunshin had lasted long enough to send him the Senjutsu chakra, and soon he was off, trying to track down Superman's unique chakra signature, and there was a faint trail of the stuff as well, so while it was going to take a bit, it was not lost to him. As soon as he got it, he quickly pulled out of the city, and it galled him to have to leave as well, but he felt it was better to find out where they were going. While all this was going on, Diana could not help but feel guilty as she moved deep into the temple while covering herself in a hooded robe. By all rights she should not do this, going into the temple of Athena like a common thief was going against her grain and upbringing. But she could not help but feel that this was the proper course of action, even if there was no doubt in her mind that her mother Hippolyta would not take kindly to it. Diana was a member of the mythical Amazons of Themyscira, women of the past, who had been allowed to live on the island, as it was both their home and their mission to guard the gate into the underworld. Their mother Hippolyta was supposedly placed this duty for her unwitting part in an ancient rebellion by her lover Hades against his brother. That and many of the Amazons had been victims of man's actions centuries prior. Thus men were not welcomed on Themyscira and considered as inferior and cruel barbarians. She too had been trained to never trust men, and she had the same beliefs to the negative qualities men had. But unlike her fellow Amazons, Diana was willful, empathic, and also had one trait that at times had been a bit of a pain for her mother. That was her curiosity towards man's world. She was always curious about what it was like at man's world, and also wanted to see if it was truly as bad as her people had said. She had at times worried about man's world, since she felt that they could better defend themselves if they understood what the world of men was like. Hippolyta was willing to tolerate that and loved her either way, but told Diana not to think too hard on the fate of men, and just be with her people, as the gods would be there to protect them. This normally would have placated anyone, but not her. And now here she was, before the altar of Athena where the mystical armor of their people's champion lay. She had a feeling that these would soon be given to the one who would serve as their champion in man's world, but now she was going to use them help man in what she felt was their darkest hour. This was something she had hoped not to do, but in her heart, Diana felt that it was right. She looked one more time to her homeland and to where her mother was currently sleeping in and spoke gently. I am sorry mother for this, but I have to do it. Diana removed her hood and then the robe as she began to don on the armor of her people's champion. As he got to where Batman and Superman had gone, Naruto hoped that they were soon going to be found, and they all can get back into figuring out how to deal with these creatures. But that was when his danger senses kicked in, and he stopped as he was now on top of a high rock face. He then spotted a number of strange things chasing the plane Batman was piloting. Superman was quickly fighting the alien things, and Naruto decided to get into the fight fast before things got really complicated. He quickly focused his chakra, and then fired out a chakra chain towards Batman's plane, namely one of the wings, in order to get to him. The chain soon wrapped around the wing, and he quickly moved to pull himself to the plane. It was not a very good ride for Naruto, but he was not going to waste time with the whole thing as he landed on the wing, right to the moment Batman turned to see him. The blonde turned and quickly did some hand seals, as another of the alien fighters came at the fighter. Once he was done, he summoned the attack with a field of air appear at his hands. Futon. Kaijin Shuriken. The massive blasts of wind took the form of shuriken that flew right into the proverbial faces of the alien fighters. One got shredded and was soon going down, while another was severely hit on the side of the wing and sent careening away, no doubt to get repaired, while the other got the hit right in the face and blew up. Naruto turned and then caught the side of the strange green-skinned dude suddenly turn translucent and go out of the flying plane Batman owned and then joined them. He whistled at that and commented on it to himself and Kurama as well. Damn, that was like that skull Toby had back in the day, but there's no way that guy's either a ninja or human. This world's getting all the more interesting. Come kid, I think we finally got some real enemies to fight. Naruto could tell that Kurama was excited as he summoned more of his chakra, and then fired out a blast of fire chakra, copying the same technique Sasuke had used on him from before. And it was something that he had spent years working on as well, since he knew when the move might come in handy. Kaiten. Hasenka no Jutsu. The massive ball of fire erupted from his mouth, and then exploded into a wave of massive fireballs that came out like machine gun rounds or like buckshot out of a shotgun, as the alien fighters were hit, and one was covered in fire, and soon crashed while another swerved away. Yet more were coming towards them, and Naruto was able to turn when another beam came at him and Batman. Superman came in and managed to block on the beams with his own heat vision, as he spoke to Naruto and Batman. Move you two. I can't hold him off forever. Naruto saw that Clark must have been tired somewhat from the fighting, and quickly grabbed one of his father's patented kunai, and tossed it at the alien. He quickly vanished from the bat jet and appeared over the alien fighter with his father's kunai in hand. He then landed on the alien and took out his swords, and then channeled his chakra into both swords, and slashed into the back of the organic-looking fighter. The weapons caused damage and forced it to stop firing as Superman, and now moved into the process of shaking him off. Naruto managed to use his chakra to hold on as best as he could on the fighter, before decided to focus his chakra to his swords once more, and then attacked. Futen Kenjutsu. Kaijin Wenjutsu Dejeki. The two swords each unleashed a massive curved cutting blade of pure chakra-enhanced wind that managed to skewer their way through the alien fighter, as Naruto quickly leaped away and managed to land on a nearby mountain, by using his wind chakra to act as a form of primitive thrust to keep him from going splat even with his senjutsu chakra still in him. Just in time to see Batman's fighter take a hit on the very same wing that he had been on only moments before. He quickly began to focus his chakra to create his wind armor, when he spotted a beam of green light suddenly surround the crippled machine. He looked and saw none other than the hero known as Green Lantern. He had a feeling that there were going to be others coming in soon. He placed that aside as he landed on the mountain, and quickly moved down the mountainside as another alien fighter strafed at him with its weapons. The blonde quickly moved to avoid the shots, and quickly fired several of his shuriken which he imbued with his senjutsu chakra, to cause above normal damage. They hit the alien fighter, but not hard enough to cause crippling damage, even when they managed to go in deep. He quickly threw his father's kunai to quickly avoid the alien's next barrage, and soon was on the mountainside, only to see another figure appear in the field, and one with wings no less. And this one also happened to have a very unique chakra signature on it as well. Looks like this battle is about to get really crowded. We got some new rivals. Naruto mentally agreed with Kurama and turned when he sensed two more signatures. One was human, though a bit different than the chakra signature of Batman's. And the other one was very different as well, telling him that the new rival was not human. He turned to watch the battle just as yet another figure joined the whole mess. This time, however, Naruto's senjutsu chakra senses were surprised to feel the very strong energy coming from her. Whoever this new rival was, the person had a lot of chakra in her, along with another energy source that felt very different. The chakra felt very strong and thick. It also felt human yet not at the same time, making Naruto all the more confused by what he was feeling through his sage mode. He decided to help, but quickly using the same techniques as before to take out the alien fighters from the sky while he was on the ground. The massive shuriken and mass fireballs did what they were meant to do, as several more alien fighters were sent down to the ground. He then summoned his wind armor to take to the skies a bit more, and was soon charged at by one of the last remaining alien fighters, as the rest were either gone or were limping away. He unleashed his last attack, which was a Rasen Shuriken, which was a lot harder to pull off in the sky than it was on the ground while he was still in sage mode. But the result was worth it, as the last alien fighter was now nothing more than descending debris. The battle seemed to come to an end, and that was something the blonde was happy for, as he saw the heroes converging on where Green Lantern had lowered the plane he had just rescued. As the blonde got down to the ground using his father's special kunai, he got up and took it back to be hidden away, as he was soon going to be joined by the others. Naruto sat next to a rock nearby that was not torn to bits in the fighting, and looked at the company coming in. He had no problem recognizing Batman and Superman in the least, and he had seen images of Flash in the news every now and then, though the speedster was moving a bit too fast for his liking. And he had seen Green Lantern in action. But the others were rather new to him in many ways. It was obvious to him that the green-skinned being was an alien and possibly the one who had been sending him the images for a while now. But his attention was riveted on the two women who were with them right now, and he was always a sucker for attractive women. And these two fit the bill very nicely. The first was a long-haired woman with raven black hair that looked silky and well-groomed. She had deep blue eyes, red lips that had no flaw, and a well-formed and flawless face that Naruto could tell had no flaws, and had all the positive traits that a beautiful woman would have. It was as if she was either blessed by the gods in this world, if there were any, with great beauty, and no doubt her family would be gifted with such as well. She was definitely the kind his godfather and sensei would have loved to research about. It was not just the face and looks too, her body was well sculpted, and had no signs of fat anywhere that did not need fat. Her bust was very well formed and was around the same size as his late wife Hinata's, with a bit more fullness to the size of Mei and possibly Tsunade, yet she did not seem the least bit troubled by them. She was all in very statuesque, and would have really gotten a lot of attention anywhere she went, even more so with the clothing armor she had on. The getup she had on was comprised of a pair of silver bracers, a pair of star-shaped earrings, a type of sleeveless and strapless top that was made from red with some sort of marks in gold in the middle, and the wings that were on the area of her well-formed bust. On the waist was a golden metal belt, and the lower part made from blue material that looked metallic with stars on it. There was a golden lasso on her hip, and wearing half-calf boots with silver metal. He had no idea who made that costume of hers, but it was not the least bit lacking in giving her a very sexy yet ass-kicking look. The way she moved and stood also told him that she might be royalty, and the aura he was picking up confirmed it. Couple that with her skills as far as he had seen, showing her respect was something of a mandatory thing, which was something he learned early on when he was a Hokage, since he had met many women who were not only strong, but had an air around them, and were worthy of respect, and after all, he was married to a princess himself who he loved deeply and who had her own strength of will. The second woman had coppered hair and wore a mask that had the look of a predatory bird, and wore what could be described as interesting. Her face might be distorted and hidden by the said mask, but there was no doubt that she was attractive, as he also saw the deep green eyes in the holes, plus the full lips to boot. Her body was also well-toned and shaped with muscle, and not a single trace of fat anywhere on her. The bust was also around the size of Koyuki's, though having a bit of fullness to it as well, so she definitely had a body to die for. The wings only served to add to the whole exotic look that she was releasing. The upper part of her costume was in the same style, but was light yellow cream in color, which held her more than ample bust, and hugged her frame very well. She had a green belt with metallic buckle, a set of green skin-tight pants of some material he could not identify, with red boots, and a red-style lower portion that he knew had best not be described in too much detail. Add that to the wicked-looking mace she had with her, and held on with a strap of leather-like material on the wrist. She looked very attractive in an exotic way, and yet looked like she would easily smash your face in if given a chance. Damn, whoever they are, they definitely would be very interesting to talk to. I suppose, though the dark-haired one seems to have trace energies coming from her, definitely more than mere chakra, possibly magic. The soon-to-come discussion between Naruto and Kurama was cut short when Superman came to face him. "You alright, Hokage?" "Yeah, managed to dig my way out of the ruin I was in earlier. Damn thing should have tried to find my body first, instead of walking away. That way it would not have gotten a Rasen Shuriken in the face." Superman did not know how to respond to that, and decided not to comment just yet, as the other heroes were arriving in their own fashion. It was here that Flash spoke the very second they got sight of Diana, when handing the torn-off wing of Batman's plane. "Hey Bats, I think you dropped this." It was here that Diana and Superman landed, and the second the speedster from Central City spotted the Amazon princess, he was immediately attracted, as any normal man would. And he picked what he deemed as a classic pickup line, as he handed the piece back to Batman, who decided not to glare at Flash, until later that is. "Well, where have you been all my life?" "Monsieur." Diana, being unused to the world of men, and namely the modern world as her homeland had been isolated for a very long time, was responding to Flash's question in a straightforward manner. This meant that she was very much unaware of the hidden meaning behind Flash's question. Flash himself was surprised. "What?" That was when Sheer gave the answer to that particular question. "That's the name of the home of the all-female warrior culture of the Amazons. I thought that place was just a legend." They were soon joined by Superman, John, and Green Lantern. Diana then spoke to Sheer and in turn introduced herself to the other assembled heroes. "I assure you that it is as real as the land we are standing on right now. I am Diana, Princess of the Amazons." Naruto smirked a bit behind his mask and replied, "You're from a nation of women warriors called the Amazons." "Yes, and as I have stated earlier, I am a princess of my homeland. Does that surprise you?" Naruto shook his head and replied, "Hardly. I've met women of your same rank and position, so I know a princess when I see one. It's a privilege to see one of your position willing to fight in battle, since I've only met few princesses willing to get their hands dirty. I even met the queen, as you can call her, of a ninja village, who also happened to be an all-women ninja force, and she was not afraid to drive her fist into the face of a foe threatening her people. So I guess I should bid you welcome, Princess Diana of the Amazons. You fight very well, so you are certainly welcome to join this battle." What he said to Diana was not a complete lie. After all, he did encounter the head of the Nadeshiko village, Shizuka, and her attendant bodyguard. And her village's people did have something of a society similar to Diana's people, the Amazons, since all of their ninja were female. He never set foot in the place himself due to their isolationism at times, but he was on good terms with Shizuka, who was currently their village leader, and was one heck of a fighter. He had no idea she ever changed the laws of her people, but the fact that she was married when he met her again indicated that she did. Plus he did read about the term Amazon in his search in the internet, and had to admit that the information was kind of hard to swallow. But he was also the kind of guy who now in his age, preferred not to make any sudden assumptions, as that had gotten him in more trouble, and physical altercations in his life. All of which in hindsight, he could do without. The green skin being moved over to him and spoke to Naruto. "So I see that you are here. It's good to know that you are alive. When I tried to scan for you while I was held captive, you briefly disappeared, and I was afraid you were lost." Naruto replied neutrally to that. "I take it you were the one who sent the images into my head, and Superman's." "Yes, I apologize for the pain the visions I sent have caused you, but when I was captured, I had to exert a lot more power in order to reach out to you and anyone else I could summon to help fight the invaders. I did the same to everyone here as well, since this threat is too much for just one hero to take on alone. You know, you have made sleeping for me the least comfortable activity in my life, and that was something I was hardly fond of. You have any idea how many nice dreams you spoiled for me?" But I am willing to let that slide provided you tell us all what those warnings were for. Flash then spoke to the others as he was getting all the more confused by the moment. Look, I'm usually the kind of guy who's fast on the uptake, but I am with the blonde dude with the mask and the ninja getup. Can someone at least tell me what the heck is going on here? John quickly began to fill them in on what happened on Mars nearly a millennia ago. His people had a bright and glorious civilization, and at the height of their prosperity and peace. The invaders shattered that as they came, and soon the Marians were in war. They abhorred the taking of any life, but to save what they could of their people. But the battles cost them dearly as the invaders fed on their psychic energies, and when they grew weaker, the enemy grew stronger and even took their ability of shape-shifting. He and his fellow survivors launched a final desperate assault to use a special nerve gas that they had developed, and soon they attacked the stronghold. It was a successful operation, but the price was fatal, as this left John as the last Martian left alive. He made it his mission to contain them in their citadel in stasis, but after 500 years, the Mars mission undertaken by the astronauts freed the invaders, and with his people gone, the aliens targeted Earth next. As soon as John was done speaking about the events that doomed his people and what he had done after the Imperium had been placed in suspended animation until now, Flash was the first to speak, as he could not help but feel that something was amiss. Hold it, if they were that bad, then why was it that no one else knows about it? The government should have done something to prepare, right? John snorted and replied. Probably some pencil pusher in Washington decided to have it stripped off the records and have it classified. Naruto, however, shook his head and replied. No, I don't think so. That man turned and spoke to Naruto. What exactly do you mean by that, Hokage? Naruto looked at the other heroes and replied. He had been working with Kurama to put the pieces together, to answer the events of the night before and now. And what John said about the Imperium and the recent things that occurred only served to complete the whole picture. Think this all through first, the Astro, never mind, never could get that word right in my head. These space explorers on Mars find what you call the find of the century, only to discover that it's the biggest threat the world had ever seen. And they did not bother to report it when they had a chance. No, I think the reason no one knew about it is that when they awakened, the Imperium already made their move. An army of invaders intent on conquering the world would never reveal themselves accidentally to anyone until they had the right moment. John, you said the Imperium managed to take your people's ability to shapeshift after they invaded your world of Mars, right? John nodded. Then they would have the ability to shapeshift now to any form they want, and if what I and Batman saw that was done to those 3 human scientists is any indication, then it's safe to assume that what happened to the group on Mars is the same. Their infiltration team came here and started doing what they could to weaken Earth's defenses. Those stations owned by Bruce were naturally the first to avoid early detection, and then Superman paled as he quickly understood it. The nukes, the same ones I decommissioned by Carter's requests. Naruto nodded. Exactly, Carter never came back to Earth at all. No doubt he's either being held in a pot like the 3 scientists are dead already. The one we all saw on TV is no doubt head of the Imperium's infiltration team. Clever if you think about it. Assume the guise of a national hero, advocate the wishes of the masses to disarm nuclear weapons to strip away any means of defense, and leave Earth open to attack by the rest of the forward force. I've seen tactics like that before in my home village was victim to such an attack by a rival force, so this is to be expected. They rendered Earth deaf, dumb, and blind first, and now they destroyed the nukes, so the militaries don't have anything to give them a fighting chance. Green Lantern growled, and his eyes glowed in anger at the fact that Earth was now rendered helpless for invasion. Like hell they are. If they think that we're going to let them set one foot on this world, they are going to get what's coming to them. The implications of the Imperium's attack hit home hard, and the hardest hit was Superman as he realized that he had rendered Earth powerless. The Man of Steel was silent as he contemplated what he had unwittingly done, and he felt so foolish and used, a situation Naruto was quick to see, and he spoke to Superman. Don't let that get to you, we have to deal with the here and now, Superman. That monster using Carter's form and face will be brought to account, but we have to set that aside. Superman nodded at that as he knew that there would be time for dealing with the invader who took Senator Carter's form. They had to deal with the soon-to-come invasion first and foremost. But just as they were getting ready for the worst, the sky was soon being darkened, and it was an unnatural cloud cover that seemed to spread all over the place. Flash saw that and was more than ready for a question on what was happening before them. What the heck is happening now? John was able to provide a more than adequate answer. The invaders are nocturnal creatures and do not operate in the daylight. That is why they are currently deploying special factories that release a specially made ion particle field that helps block out the sun. They did the same to Mars when they invaded, and that aided them considerably in eventually driving my people to extinction. No doubt this is what they are going to do once the whole world is under eternal night. Flash decided to try and lighten the mood, as it were, even though he knew that this was not going to sit well with the more serious heroes here. And naturally, seeing that their foes were the night-loving type, he turned to the Dark Knight himself. Maybe we can have Batman here go and talk to them. I mean, he likes the night as they do, so maybe they can be friends. Naruto snickered a bit at that to himself, as he had done something similar to lighten the mood in his missions. It didn't always work, but there was no sense in trying. Bruce already knew that the joke was directed at him and was not in the mood for such things. This is not the time to act funny, Flash. Flash moved towards the Martian in his usually cool and flippant fashion and replied, "Why are we worrying anyhow? All we have to do is make of that gas, and then knock them all out with it, and finish them off before they can be the wiser, right? And I bet that you have the gas with you as well, right, John?" John was quick to turn that plan down the proverbial drain as he shook his head. "I am afraid that I can no longer use the gas. When we developed it, we used several rare Martian plants to do it. They do not grow on Mars anymore, since the invaders ravaged my homeworld. The samples I have that were still viable were destroyed when I was captured, along with any of the gas supply that was usable as well. Without the plant samples, there is no way to make the gas at all." Flash couldn't help but feel a bit defeated by that and replied lamely, "So, what exactly is Plan B?" Diana was quick to offer a solution. "Then we should focus on the factories then. Destroying those will no doubt have a crippling effect on their war efforts. If we cannot stop them with this gas, then we can at least deny them their ability to operate on the world by taking the factories down." Naruto nodded in agreement with Diana's assessment. Taking out the factories could have a deadly effect on the Imperium, since the only reason they would have such places to control is if they were very vulnerable to sunlight. "I'm with Princess Diana on that one. Taking those factories out can have an effect on the invasion of these alien beings, since the only reason they would have factories to block out the sun is if they have very strong aversion or even a reaction to sunlight, apart from being nocturnal. Plus, if we manage to take down one, we might get some information on them to find out if there are any other weak points, something we and the rest of the military can certainly use." Diana looked at the masked man with a measure of surprise. Instead of telling her to not speak because she was woman, he approved of her plan instead. That was not what her tutors had said about men, as they described men as being egotistical and arrogant in thinking. They viewed women as inferior, and that was something Diana had learned to dislike during her sessions with them. It hardly helped matters that her mother also had ill views of men for different reasons. She also noted something else: the energy the Hokage was using right now, for some reason or another, it was similar to the one sensed by their priestess Maul. She began to suspect that the one that the priestess had sensed days before it could tap into nature was right there with her. That was surprising to her, as she had learned from one of the few times some of her sisters came back from a foray into man's world for scouting missions, that men no longer followed the old ways and became too reliant on technology. This man seemed different to her in the way he seemed to be able to tap and control energy with harmony than with force. Green Lantern glared at both Diana and Naruto and replied, "This is not the kind of thing for rookies and ninja one-up kids to be part of, lady." That statement was not going to sit well with Diana, as she glared at Green Lantern. The idea of him calling her rookie, despite the fact she was born and raised as a warrior, galled her, and she was about to respond to that. But Naruto beat her to it, as the blonde was less than pleased, even more than she was. Naruto glared darkly at Green Lantern, and could not help but be insulted by the man. Calling him a kid was an annoying thing, though something he can laugh off. But being called a ninja one-up was more than annoying to the blonde. It was borderline slapping in the face insulting. The anger was for good reason, considering the fact that he was a Kage-ranked shinobi, with a lot of skills, jutsu, experience, as well as being a sage, a Jinchuriki, and had literally lived for nearly a century in the ninja arts. He was also annoyed at the fact that he was insinuating that neither he nor Diana had no place to help humanity when it needed all the heroes it could get. He had lived a long time to know that with a war like this, now was not the time to be wasting energy on trying to point out who's the rookie and who's the veteran. He made that obvious as he finally released his killing intent towards John, and while killing intent from powerful ninja was very strong, killing intent from a ninja with the level of experience like Naruto was very strong. That aura got the attention of every hero in the immediate area, as they all shivered a bit, even more so since in doing so, Naruto allowed some of Kurama's chakra to mix with the killing intent, along with him shedding his youthful nature. Superman and Batman were surprised as Naruto's entire demeanor became cold and furious in such a way that seemed impossible for someone as young as he looked. John himself took a half step back, as he had not felt such emotion from anyone. Flash was surprised at the sudden change in the blonde ninja with them. Diana was also caught unaware of the sudden attitude change from the blonde warrior next to her. Then Hawkgirl looked at Naruto while slightly tightening her grip on her mace. "That aura feels cold and dangerous. I've never felt anything like that before." The target of said aura was quick to sense that, and while he remained calm-looking, Jon Stewart had to admit that feeling that level of animosity was pretty strong, stronger than most he had sensed. To see it coming from the young blonde teen was surprising, as the only time he had ever felt that was from the most battle-hardened soldiers and officers in his time in the Marine Corps, and among the Green Lanterns, the most obvious being the former Lantern Sinestro. Naruto then spoke once more, and gone was the tone of a young teenager, but in its place was the tone of a man of authority, experience, and power, as well as someone who was royally pissed off. What did you just call me, you snarky arrogant little bastard? Green Lantern was surprised by that as Naruto got off the rock he was sitting on. He then stepped forward, and without batting an eyelash placed his sword right next to John's throat at high speed, with the edge right at his throat. It had caught the dark-skinned human lantern by surprise, as he did not hear the telltale sound of a sword being drawn, and he could feel the steel on his neck. He saw that Naruto's eyes were cold and glacial as the ninja spoke. Don't let the fact that I look like a teen blind you to who I really am. When I was only 13, I faced a highly trained killer who as a young man, slaughtered an entire class of highly skilled warriors by himself. I also face a person who sold his soul to wield unholy power to become a master of all techniques where I come from. I have fought on missions that could kill any regular kid in any city in this nation. I have endured pain in both body and mind that would have broken any regular teenager for years. I have fought in a war that decided the fate of not one nation, but the whole world. And I have killed people before. There were only 2 of them, but both were criminals and terrorists of the highest order. They thought nothing of razing entire nations to the ground, sending countless people to the slaughter, experiment on the living and the dead, seeing all beings as nothing more than pawns for them to play with and use for whatever sick plans they have. They deserve to die, and I was the one who carried it out, and I did so without any hesitation. I am a lot older than I look, and I have faced threats and enemies that would have killed lesser men and women at the age I look to you. I have lived my entire life as a ninja, and while I do not like to take life, if there is no other choice or the enemy is too dangerous to live or no longer someone who can be saved, I will stop him, hurt them, even if I have to kill them. And where I come from, you do not ever show disrespect to your allies. As of right now, all of us here know what is at stake if these Imperium or whatever they are take over this world. Look at what they did to John's world. They intend to do that here now, and I will gladly sell my life to stop them before they do so. Now is not the time to be telling who the rookie is, or being picky about who is on your side. The lady who you happen to have insulted from I have seen already happens to have a strength to make her on par with Superman, have the ability of flight, have excellent reflexes, have a measure of battle training and skill, and more. He then pointed to Diana who was surprised by this, and she listened intently to what the blonde ninja had to say. She had never heard of ninja before, but if this man's skill was any indication, they were very skilled warriors. From what I have seen, she is more than ready and capable to help fight these bastards from space, so you do not have the time to state such bullshit. The enemy does not give a shake of a cockroach's dick and balls if you are the veteran or the rookie, if you are man or woman. The only thing they want is to see you and everyone who opposes them dead. I will gladly fight by her side because she is here of her own free will and knows the results if we all fail. Which you apparently see but think that it's better to go do it the official way when now is not the time for such actions. You are going to have our help whether you want it or not, but don't ever insult me or her ever again. And for the record. Naruto turned and quickly lashed out with his free hand that was coated faintly with chakra, with his fingers extended and bent like claws. The results were there was a large number of boulders and trees that were at least 50 feet away from the group, suddenly shredded and sent flying into the air, and reduced to slivers of wood and stone. That left a very clean landscape that showed a clean cut through the entire area. Naruto turned to John and replied with a tone of finality. What you have seen me do earlier is just a sample of what I can do. If you want to test me Green Lantern, go ahead. But I promise you that I will give you a beating you will never forget. With that, Naruto began to rein in his killing intent aura, and sheathed his sword as he moved away and went back to where he was, which was next to Diana, and sat once more in the lotus position on the rock. His features relaxing as he went back to looking like a teenager. But it was obvious that his display had unnerved some of the heroes. Nevertheless, Diana was very much impressed, as she had never seen that level of sword skill, as she had not even seen him draw his sword or hear it until it was at Green Lantern's throat. There were those of her sisters back home who were fast with the sword, and she was fast herself, but this Hokage, as he called himself, seemed to be of a caliber that would be equal or a bit higher than her sisters and herself. She turned to Naruto, who was back to being a teen in his aura, which was once more warm and welcoming. A stark contrast to the aura she had felt earlier, and she could not help but tell that he spoke truly about his belief in her abilities. She was curious about his powers, namely that energy he had released earlier. The energy was not evil, but it was strong and had a bestial yet intelligent aura about it. It was different from the energy he had when she first saw him. She knew now that he was the one who used that energy that Mala sensed before on Themyscira, though she was still unsure on how he did it, and she might decide to ask him when there was time for her to do so. But that could wait for now, as they did have a more serious matter to deal with. That man was now more than convinced that there was more to the Hokage than he had first thought. The sudden shift of the blonde's demeanor and personality was enough to show to Bruce that he was not someone to take lightly, even more so with what he already knew of the shinobi. The power Naruto showed earlier meant that he had a lot more skill and power than he had let on. Superman was surprised somewhat, as he had never seen the Hokage act like this before, along with hearing him speak in such a manner. That was a tone that made even him feel a shiver through his skin, and the energy he briefly felt was a lot more potent than he had felt in a while. It was not magic in any sense, it felt more primal and alive. It was not evil, but it was powerful and bestial yet with intelligence. Plus the way the blonde ninja acted was enough to show that he was a lot more seasoned than he looked, even more so when the two of them faced one another back in Metropolis. Flash was wide-eyed and slightly grinning at the dressing down John had gotten, though he was a bit shocked at the way the blonde teen changed his nature entirely. That told him that this kid was a lot more than he seemed, and if he was indeed a ninja, not one of those one found in those movies and comics, but the actual deal, with some really cool powers, then it made sense he could do those things. If that was the case, then he was alright with having the Hokage join them in this fight. Hawkgirl had to admit to herself that she was a bit worried about the way the blonde had changed when he was insulted by Green Lantern. That kind of attitude change and the aura he gave out told her that despite his youthful looks, this blonde was no simple-minded teen doing this for glory. That aura was the kind only elite warriors had, developed only after years of field experience and hardship. How that came into this guy and why he said he was older than he actually looked made her all the more curious who he was. John managed to regain his faculties and glared at Naruto as he began to move forward until Superman stepped in. Now is not the time for this, John. The Hokage is right, we have to work together here to deal with the threat. John sighed a bit as he knew that Superman had a point. If they did not stop this Imperium from taking over the world, then it was over. That did not mean that he was going to easily forget what had just happened between him and the two. Though the focus of his ire was the Hokage, as he had not expected the guy drawing his sword on him, and he was not going to forget it anytime soon. Naruto knew that look but did not care. Now was not the time for glaring, now was the time for action. It did not take long for the heroes to decide that they would be better off working in separate teams to take out their targets. There was one target in the South Pacific, namely in Indonesia, another in Egypt, and the last was obviously the one in Metropolis. Once that was over, they now had to decide on the individual team setup, and Flash, ever the flirt, decided to make his choice known as he moved to Diana, and placed his hand on the princess's shoulder. Dibs on the Amazon. Diana did not look the least bit comfortable with what Flash was doing, and Naruto was more than able to see that. He had recalled his meeting with Shizuka from the village known as Natashiko, and coupling that with what he read about the term Amazon, he could tell that this might not end well, and he decided to speak to Flash serious before it got to a point where they would get into another argument. Flash, I recommend that you take the hand off the lady and let Diana decide for herself who she partners with. Or else you might not end up in the best of situations. Flash raised his eyebrow at that, and Naruto replied with a sigh. Keep in mind that Princess Diana happens to be from a nation of women who, from what I had managed to read and understand, don't exactly hold men in very high regard. In fact, I think that given the chance, the only thing they might do is to knock you around at best or outright kill you at worst. Now considering that Diana happens to be their princess and no doubt heiress to the throne, the fact that you are acting in a fashion that is deemed inappropriate could be considered a very serious offense. And as princess, I have no doubt that Diana right now is not the least bit comfortable around men, and the only thing you happen to be doing is not very nice to her cultural sensibilities. And no doubt a man touching an Amazon the way you are right now is considered a heinous offense, enough to get you sent to prison or a torture session at best, or lopping off of the offending appendage along with your head at worst, even more so as she is royalty. Besides, after what I have seen and we all have seen, Diana is more than able to take care of herself, so unless you plan on getting yourself beaten to a bloody pulp by her, I suggest you let her decide who she works with. Up to you if you want to go ahead, but take it from me, trying to get fresh with a super powerful woman who is not keen in the idea is going to end very badly for you. Flash gulped as he realized that Naruto was not joking around, and quickly moved his hand off of Diana, though he still smiled a bit weakly at that. As for Diana, she felt relieved by that as she had indeed gotten rather uncomfortable with the situation. Naruto noted hat and smirked a bit. This reminded him of the times his godfather Jiraiya, the ninja world's greatest pervert, would restrain himself whenever Tsunade was around. And for good reason, as he had tried to get fresh with Tsunade too many times until that fateful day he piqued her and nearly gotten killed as a result. As soon as that was out of the way, Batman spoke to the others seriously. We already got our objectives and targets, we should move out now. The longer we delay, the more time the Imperium will have to set their plans in motion. So let's get down to deciding who goes with who. In this case, who will you go with, Diana? Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.